Would you like to reduce your net fleet fuel spend by 10 to 23%? Could you use that money in other areas in your company while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time? Click the link below and learn more. Hey everybody, welcome back to Freight Executive Insights. I'm Mike Vincent. She is Charlie Saffro, if you don't know who she is. I know who she is. I've known her for quite a while. And she's super awesome. And she is CEO of CS Recruiting. Charlie Saffro, CS Recruiting. I'm going to tell you something. I just put that together today.
Did you?
I was today years old when I said, oh, okay, CS makes sense.
What does CS
Because I would think to
stand for?
myself, Charlie Saffro, what does she do? She's a recruiter with, what's the name of that company?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, my husband's name is Chad, so we have the same initials. And I'm going to say my teenage son figured out that it was for my initials like 2 years ago. Like,
Oh, and not your husband's.
exactly. Like, oh, isn't it?
Okay.
Didn't Dad start the company? And just the CS.
Well, wait, he's the male, right? I mean, the male's the one that starts the company, right? I mean,
Right, that's what you think. This is my business from day one. So
I'm obviously kidding, but I mean that it's funny how kids think certain ways, right?
literally,
Well, obviously that's see now in my household, my wife's name is Melissa. I call her Mel, so we're both M's, and then we have Mia and May, so we're all M's.
all
in
M's.
my family. Everybody's MV in my family, but when my daughters ask me something, can we do this or can I have this or blah blah blah, if they're even a little bit like, if it's something that sometimes we say no, like, hey, can we have a sleepover tonight? And I'll say, yeah, sure, no problem. They'll immediately go to mom to make sure that's okay.
Oh, or if
that I said that.
they don't want to hear. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they want to hear it, but it's like one of those things where sometimes, most of the time it's a no, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, he said yes? That
Exactly.
can't be right. That can't be right.
The try to wave, exactly.
It's got to be that. So let's find out about you. Stalking you, CS Recruiting has started a number of years ago while you were at home with your child, right?
Yeah.
And just then looking for gig work, I guess, right?
Kind of. I had my third son, and I think at the time maybe 3 kids under 4, 3 kids under 5 years old.
Wow, that's fun.
That was fun. And yeah, it's so crazy to think like what possessed me to start a business during that time. But
Yeah, like you had nothing else to do.
exactly. I got nothing to do. I love taking my business meetings from a Target aisle and a carpool
Yeah.
line. But no, I had been a recruiter for a transportation technology company that taught me the industry and really exposed me to supply chain, logistics, transportation. The company I work for was acquired, and like you said, like I was kind of looking for gigs as a recruiter, not really, but I just had a lot of relationships. I had a lot of knowledge, put myself on LinkedIn as a logistics transportation recruiter. And this was 2010. So definitely not the LinkedIn it is today, but started getting inquiries, like, hey, do you actually know what LTL is? And could you help us find a, ocean import specialist? And because I spoke the language and I knew the jargon, I was kind of able to ease my way into these opportunities. And again, like not super intentional. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't go out and get a line of credit. It was opportunities were there. I am a risk taker. So I went for them and then scaled my team just as a response to what the market was offering me. So yeah, 14 years later, CS Recruiting, we've got about 30 people on our team. We recruit nationwide across the entire supply chain, focusing on professional positions, independent contributors, all the way up to that C-suite and executive level recruiting.
Okay, so you don't go. You're not doing drivers, warehouse employees, that type of stuff, or dock employees, et cetera. You're going. Is it director and above, or C-level suite above, or VP? Do you?
Yeah, I appreciate you clarifying. We do it all, and that's something I think a lot of our clients appreciate about us is that we may help a company find their COO or their, director of supply chain, but we can also help them find supervisors, managers, even independent contributors. Kind of where we draw the line is if it's a salaried position. So direct hire, permanent positions, a lot of the individuals that we place will then go on to be the hiring managers for the drivers, for the warehouse team. But we're focused on the professional I say corporate positions, but a lot of the roles will still be in a terminal environment or a facility environment.
Interesting. So, and it's all three natural participants, right? Shipper, intermediary, and like capacity provider, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then also these suppliers, partners, vendors to the industry that are selling, equipment or tech solutions. So,
Oh, yeah. People yeah, right. Even like somebody like a Bandex brake executive or something, you sales, but you're going to, yeah, that
exactly.
makes
Like
sense. Okay. I didn't even think about that. There's
we
a whole
work with
nother.
like chassis manufacturers or telematic companies, even like insurance companies specific to the industry. So that's how we look at it. The common denominator for us is where we can really shine is if the position really is a fit for someone who's got industry knowledge and experience. It doesn't have to be straight from a competitor, but our
Yeah.
network of talent is just so deep with industry knowledge and niche expertise that that's
Wow.
what we're really serving.
There's so many questions to go through. This may take longer than 15 to 20 minutes.
All right, give it to me.
I just thought of
Ready.
like 100. I just thought of 100 questions, and that's my nature, is because I just have
I'm
this
the same.
inquisitive mind. But so right now, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours who we discussed earlier, Sherman Barnes. Right, one of the things I was talking to him about was the state of the industry, and I want to bounce this across against you a little bit,
Yeah.
because there's people out there looking for jobs, right, and they can't find them. All
Hmm.
right. And there's people out there losing their jobs because some people are going out of business, and that's why
Hmm.
people are looking for jobs. I also see people getting jobs quite a bit on LinkedIn, and more recently. So I'm like, yeah, I'm optimistic, right? Hey, I just started this. I probably get 3 or 4 of those a day, and they're in logistics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which are good.
Amazing.
Is there an overcapacity of talent on the management side? Is that something that occurred during the pandemic as it did with capacity at the same time because of the new
Yeah.
people? And
Yeah.
because I
That's
was
a
having that, we were talking, and he was like, wow, that's brilliant. I never thought of that. And I said, neither did I till we were just talking, but it seems like it would be correct, right?
It is. It is. And it's funny that I'm a recruiter, but I just happen to play in an industry that has, brokers and intermediaries because it really is the same concept where, if people are buying, companies are hiring, and then there is a, demand for talent, but a supply of jobs. Where we are now is exactly what you said. There is a high supply of job seekers, but not as quite of a high demand. So, um, what's confusing about it, and you alluded to this, I read something the other day that really summed it up nicely. And I don't love using these terms, but I'm quoting an article that said, um, it feels like it's a white collar recession. So there's a lot of
Yes.
stats out there. Yeah, like the unemployment rates are not bad right now. And when you look at people in temp positions and seasonal roles and hourly roles, like they've got gigs, they're getting hired. They're the ones announcing a lot of, interim or they're coming in as a fractional or even hourly or seasonal. But from the more professional side, people looking for W-2 salaried positions, there just is not as much of a demand right now, which is a direct result of people not buying, things aren't being manufactured, things aren't being distributed or transported. The cycle.
So is that it? Because my question is along those lines as well. I agree with what you're saying, and that is exactly part of the thing that I was saying. But also two other things. One, my argument was, okay, if you look at at during the pandemic, this explosion of demand, okay,
Hmm.
and then there was an explosion of capacity, but there was an explosion of capacity not only in the traditional sense of being able to move goods from place to place, surface,
Hmm.
air, ocean traffic, etc.,
Hmm.
intermodal, but or capacity. But also there was an explosion of management capacity because
Hmm.
you had all these new people entering the jobs or the workforce in logistics, and many of them going out and starting their own brokerage or like you see all these new authorities, which doesn't, if one person leaves, Knight Swift and starts their own, authority, that's two, that you just doubled the authorities, but you haven't
Right.
even changed the capacity at all. So there's that
Exactly.
misconception out there,
Uh-huh.
right? So let's just clear that
Exactly.
up.
I follow.
authorities going up and down has nothing to do with capacity, really.
Mhm.
It's not a direct correlation. But then you had all these people who expanded their or accelerated their careers into upper management because of that as well, right? So is there this influx now of management that entered this new area because of and accelerated their growth?
Mhm.
And at the same time, now you've got more, I hate it, but AI and automated, right?
Yeah, that's
All
part
that
of it.
combined to make it like
The
not such a
perfect
great,
storm. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and
perfect.
if you think back, like what we've been through in the last 4 years, when COVID struck in 2020, there was just so much uncertainty and companies were running with their heads cut off. Should we hire? Should we fire? What should we do?
Yeah,
2021 into early 2022 was this great resignation where I would say it's pretty much 180 of where we've been in 23 and 24. So great resignation. There were lots of jobs. Companies were really accommodating job seekers, but job seekers were in a position where they could really leverage their experience. They could negotiate. They got counteroffers, and they could really focus on what they wanted and needed. So there was a lot of hopping around during the Great Resignation. And then late 22 is when really, I would say the demand and just like the buying habits started to drop and some more economic fear and recession talk. And then companies looked at their staff and looked at their payroll and said, wow, we really overhired, but not necessarily overhired. We had the demand last year because the
yeah,
economy was
yeah,
booming. And then that's what happened is they had to make a lot of hard decisions and, reshuffle their teams, reevaluate their leadership, eliminate positions, put expansion projects on hold. And that's what led to this surplus of talent right now. And we're just starting to see companies get bullish enough to hire again, but still a lot of fear in the market. And that's very indicative by the types of jobs we see companies recruiting for. Like we can
yeah.
feel out what they're thinking based on what type of talent they want.
Yeah, well, I mean, just watch the news, and it depends on what hour. Oh, recession. Well, maybe not a recession.
Yeah.
Well, probably. Well, maybe not. Well, the Dow's down 800. Well, today it's back up. Well,
Yeah,
Iran's going to bomb everybody. Well, they're backing off. I mean, the uncertain. It's crazy right now,
it's
right?
crazy. Yeah,
You don't see it settling down anytime soon. Probably post election. Yeah, and then people start to figure out which way
I think so.
is that part of it?
Yeah, we're starting to see an uptick, and I want to be optimistic and hopeful, but I also want to be a realist that right
Yeah,
now it's a good time for companies, it's a good time for people that are employed. It's a really tough time for professionals that are looking for a new opportunity or, they're unemployed or soon to be unemployed. Where
yeah.
we're starting to see an uptick is like we can pick up on different trends. Like we're starting to see more roles, again, like manager and above, but in the warehousing space. A lot of
Oh,
that being driven by e-com and just purchasing behavior. So those are the trends we look for. It's like, okay, brokerages were hiring sales reps very consistently for many, many months. That tells us that they're not really taking a lot of risks. They're only looking for someone who's going to, bring in revenue and really
yeah.
pay for themselves. But then when we start to see these operational roles, warehouse supervisor, director of distribution, that tells us that, buying habits are picking up, which means these companies are responding to it with leaders and individuals in the right positions.
So, do you have any trends, advice, whatever, in or thoughts on transition from like one silo to another within the space, like from the shipper to the intermediary to like the carrier, whether it be trucking or rail or ocean or shipping. Is there movement between those because of the desire to get that talent from the other side?
That's a great question. I would say there's more of a desire on the talent side. So, like, we have helped so many talented individuals get exposed to different parts of the industry because of a skill set they have. And a lot of times you'll understand this, it's because of a non-compete. So, somebody was a freight broker to 3PL, love their experience, ready to move on. They cannot work in the industry for a year for any competitor. that's
Mm.
where we can really look at their skills and what they could maybe do on the shipper side. So I would say it happens a good amount, but it's less about the hiring company saying we want a freight broker and more about a freight broker saying, I love, working with carriers and building relationships and negotiating lanes and working on, spot quotes. And that's a perfect fit for a load planner or somebody who's on the shipper side managing
Mm.
carrier relations or
Gotcha.
capacity.
Gotcha. Has there been any shift in the shippers as far as uh, recruitment is? I mean, in this space because of the proliferation of the really more higher quality intermediaries. I mean, it would seem to me, for instance, that the change in capacity this time around in this
Mhm.
dip has been
Mhm.
different than I've experienced over the last 36 years. And I'm not talking about the level of the dip. I mean, duh.
Yeah.
2021 and 22 is not going to go on forever. And if you thought it was, then you really need to have your psyche checked because you're out of your
Exactly.
mind. And I mean, it's like what do you think we're bouncing back to? We're not going to bounce back to 2020 levels or 2021 levels. We're pretty much there. But regardless of your thoughts, there is the capacity leaving has not always been the smallest carriers anymore because of the quality of those intermediaries and their ability to provide services to those large
Mhm.
carriers. It's not the little guys getting chopped immediately, and then the enterprise guys are the last to know. Doesn't
Right.
seem quite the same this time. But on the shipper side, is there less of a desire to bring talent in because they're depending more and more on these really outside logistics departments? Is that changing a bit? Do you see more trust in that area or no?
There was definitely a shift in late 22 to that type of philosophy or operating
Yeah,
model, and it was exactly because of what we're talking about. It was companies looking to cut budgets and realizing that they maybe had a transportation team that was two people too big, and then, it's like any hard decision at a company, like, can we outsource this? Can we, reduce costs by doing these tasks a different way? So definitely we saw that. I'm not seeing that as obvious right now just based on the
I got
titles of positions, but I also think that transition happened and now we're just kind of sailing through it.
I got you. I got you. That makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense. So one of the other things and we talked about this right beforehand because I didn't know if it was real or not, but I'm starting to see this because a friend of ours brought it to my attention.
Mhm.
There's like this more and more. I mean, it's hitting news now, and maybe they're just late to the news, but fake job postings. Now, fake
Yeah.
load postings, it's been going on for years and years and years, and it's why some data is good and some data is bad because you got to
Mhm.
weed that out. Um,
Same
what's going on?
They've always been around, fake job postings, and
Okay,
if I have to, like, explain behind the scenes from a recruiter standpoint, whether you're a corporate company or you're a recruiting firm, if you are posting your jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed or, ZipRecruiter, a lot of times, like, you're buying a package. So we have, whatever it is, 10 job slots, and we just bought that for 2 years. So for the next 2 years on LinkedIn, we have 10 slots to post our open roles and accept applications. When the market changes and we're not hiring, or let's say we only really have two roles that we're working on right now, and it was just a result of, a change in plans or poor planning, we've got to fill those other slots to get an ROI. And so I'm not saying that we practice this. I'm saying this is how a lot of companies will think about it. Hey, let's just post an enterprise sales role or a VP of sales and see what we get. We're not really looking to fill that position, but maybe if we post a VP of sales, we'll actually find some people who are willing to be hunters and who are willing to come in and earn, pay for themselves. So it's always happened. It's phishing. And it's exactly the
yeah,
same way, fake loads are just phishing for shippers,
right. Yeah,
right?
they're just looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just looking
Fake
for
capacity,
rates or whatever. Yeah,
vice
yeah,
versa, or fishing for carriers. And it's the exact
yeah,
same thing. So what's weird though, what's happening now is with I mean, there's so much automation. So a lot of these job postings are just, it's automated and no human eye is on it to confirm, like, yes, that position is a need and we're actively seeking talent and interviewing. And then you're starting to see like bots against bots. So the job description written by a bot, posted by a bot, and then
The
somebody
droid wars.
yeah, somebody sent me a website yesterday. I can't remember what it was called, but it was insane. It was like you upload your resume and then you just give them permission to apply you to 200 jobs based on word matches. And so these people don't even know where they've applied. They're getting, invited to interviews. They never did research. They never thought about that company. It was just the easy way out, a one click. So it's bots against bots, and it's really hard to find humans right now, hiding in that process.
So even as a recruiter, it's messing you up, and it's messing the job search person up. So what's do you have? So we're already past 20 minutes, and we could go on forever and ever. But let's do this. Do you have advice to share for the seeker, and then for the seeker, because they're both sides are seeking, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what's going on in the market, no matter how technology evolves and changes our processes, it always comes back to the human. Like we both know that this is a human industry. You need relationships, you need judgment, you need creativity, you need to make, emotional decisions sometimes. And so if you're a job seeker applying to a job, first of all, I highly suggest taking the time and really being intentional about what jobs you're applying to. You don't want to be that resume that's just a number and, the person who's applying everywhere. Be mindful about it, but also look at the humans, like who posted that job or who's at that company that's probably making the hiring decisions. Reach out to that person, use your network, get connected, get introductions. There's a lot you can do from treating people like humans. It's very basic, but it seems to be working right now.
Yeah, it's easier to do. Excuse me. It's easier to do the spray and pray these days with all these new technologies and AI, et cetera. But it's just not impactful, right? I mean, you can get discovered real quick, even if they call you and they say, "Hey, you recruit," and you're like, "Who is this? Who did I read?
Right.
Did I apply here?" Yeah,
but it's like you wouldn't do that on a dating app, would you? Would you just give a dating app permission to reach out to 200 people that you've never seen? Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's just
I personally no, but I know some people probably would.
Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not on a dating app, thank God. But yeah,
no, I was done dating before apps came out. So
exactly. No, but when you think of it, yeah, just be intentional. Like this is your job seeker needs to advocate for themselves, and it's an opportunity to get the right job, but also get in with the right company, the right people. And the more intentional and human you are, the better odds you have these days.
Fantastic. CS Recruiting, is that what it is? csrecruiting.com?
cs-recruiting.com, or find us on LinkedIn, whether, you're a job seeker or you're looking to hire, or a hiring manager or executive just looking for some advice on the market and what we're seeing from a hiring standpoint. We tend to have a very interesting point of view.
Yeah, amen. And check out Charlie Saffro on LinkedIn. You post a lot of really good stuff and interesting stuff. It's I love it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. Thanks for downloading and watching Freight Executive Insights. We'll catch you next time. Peace.